Today we're talking with Michelle Niver of Sacred Awaken, and she is a psychic medium. And she does a little light language and some sound therapy. We are just going to have a very fun, lighthearted, dynamic conversation. I do think we will take callers. So as we start this conversation, think about your question. And when you're ready, raise your hand. And if you are on YouTube, we'd love if you'd like, subscribe, and hit the bell. We are really growing over there, and we'd love your support in the comments as well.
So Jenna, tell me, how was your weekend?
Yeah, so we went to Mission Impossible.
Oh, cool. Yeah, very cool.
Fun. I watched every one of those in the theater, and it was quite the delight to just leave going, wow.
Isn't it cool how it's all about AI and what...
Yep. And it was like years ago.
Yes, the war against the machines, right, has always been the case with Terminator. I feel like people really just channel and bring that stuff in when they download some of these ideas for the movies, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Which brings us to another topic about AI. This Thursday, we have Adam Apollo, who will be coming on and talking. We have a dynamic conversation with him. It will be live streamed, so if you're joining us normally on YouTube, be sure to join us on Zoom, and goes through this really fascinating and amazing spiritual meets AI conversation and how he has behind the scenes, almost I say, hacked his way into creating AI to respond, to put forth some of this more sacred language. And so he tells us all about how he does that. He really seeds the conversation because it's fascinating. I think you asked the question about whether or not we needed prompts. He says that he comes with a downloadable spreadsheet where you can actually upload that to your prompter, to your AI assistant, and then it has a language in which to communicate with you. And then it also tells it to go ahead and start communicating from the place of consciousness and spirituality. So it's a fascinating conversation. I can't even go into the specifics because if I tried, I will only confuse you.
And then I really feel like you have to be there, right? It has to be that intuitive connect.
Yes,
first.
We talked about that.
Yeah, he did talk about that. And that is also in the white paper, but I think it's way more important than people think.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and play with that on one of the shows in the future. We have not decided when, but we actually want to take his white paper and do a whole show going through the white paper and our experiences and our ahas, and we'll see where that goes. It may be Mystique only, but we will let you know as we kind of evolve and come through that.
Sure.
We just know our Mystique people are so highly advanced in this language and this conversation that it might be a little easier.
Yeah, well, I do think that there'd be a piece of it where we will demonstrate how we're walking through the information and how we're going through as an experimentation. I think it'd be very interesting for the show, but when we're doing the actual course lesson and because there's probably some technical work that you have to do in the back end. So we'll walk people through doing it, but we'll offer a little bit more hands-on support through the Mystique. I think that'll be a really fun experiment, especially since you said you were feeling a little bit heavy about it. This is going to be a good, really cool experiment. So basically it's a way in which you could possibly use AI to connect with your channel and your higher selves. It's fascinating. It really, really is fascinating. You have to hear his interview on Thursday. And so it's a very timely conversation that we have, especially as AI is really dominating the airwaves.
Right away.
So it ought to be a really fun conversation. But today we even have a better conversation. Before we jump into that, I did want to address a little bit of the stuff that people were going through. We had a lot of energy coming through from the solar wave, from the solar flares that happened last week while I was on vacation. And then this week it's a little bit quieter because the coronal hole is not Earth facing. So basically the higher charged particles that stream from the Earth is not facing the Earth right now. But as that starts to spin around and as that does, we'll again start seeing those increased solar flares, all of that information starts to come through. And what we're really realizing is that this conversation about upgrades and about DNA changes that happen from the sun's charged particles, they are becoming more of the conversation everywhere, even in the scientific communities. So if you're watching Greg Braden, if you subscribe to Bruce Lipton, and even in some of I think there's another gentleman, his name is Stefan in YouTube. He's a geophysicist, and he talks exactly about this information that I have been sharing. And I always try to get everybody to kind of like, hey, here's the conversation, but it always seems like it's so far, and I have a little bit of trouble trying to explain what I am experiencing and how come this is coming up for me. But I'm really, really seeing that for everyone, and everyone is really experiencing a lot of the different symptoms. So with that, a little bit of information, I do want to take this time to just read something from the Palladian message around this whole conversation and for July 1st. It says, you are entering a powerful portal. This period between 7 Sirius portal and the A8 Lions gateway is auspicious time for inspiration, creativity, and manifestation. Pay attention to the ideas that reach you during this time because they will have a strong potential to be very fruitful. It's time to reap the rewards of your hard work, both inner and outer, and step into the reality that you've been envisioning and co-creating. The next 6 months will feel different than ever before. Y'all, we are arriving. Your life is taking off in a different direction of unity, sovereignty, peace, and harmony. Your heart and soul are guiding you along this path. Stay anchored in your heart center and welcome to the new world. We have really come into this new part of this year of this solar peak, and as we're entering into the age of Aquarius. Isn't that really exciting? So this is where we've been working up toward. Again, if you are experiencing some ascension symptoms, always remember to hydrate and give yourself grace. That's what I got from Mystic Space Weather News. All righty, let's get into the show today.
All right, Michelle, I'm bringing you up. Oh, you look beautiful. I love your background.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It was zenny in your world today.
It's a nice place to be. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
We're excited to have
welcome.
you.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Leonka's going to give you an official introduction.
Sure.
And we'll go ahead and jump on in.
Michelle Niver is a psychic medium and spiritual teacher, registered nurse, health coach, and sound therapist for over 30 years of professional and healthcare experience. As the founder of Sacred Awaken, Michelle blends her unique understanding of science and medicine with her spiritual gifts to help others heal and transform. From a young age, Michelle experienced out-of-body experiences and felt a deep and natural connection to spirit angels, multidimensional energy. And although she didn't fully understand her psychic abilities at the time, she received intuitive insights and sensed unforeseen energies frequently. Today, Michelle works closely with spiritual guides, departed loved ones, and higher dimensional collectives, including the Divine Mother Collective and the Council of Nine. Welcome, Michelle. That is quite the information there and quite the work that you have done over the last 30 years. Tell us how you fell into this.
It didn't make sense to me until I became an adult. And truly what happened was I slowed down. I was a nurse. I'm still a registered nurse, but I was working in mainstream nursing profession. And I found myself getting less and less enthused by it. I was feeling like people were getting sicker instead of better. And I was learning about alternative health and alternative measures that we could take to get better. And it was really mind-blowing to me. And I had an urge to quit my job on a whim. And I quit my nursing job. I didn't know what I was doing. I felt crazy at the moment, but it was one of the most important decisions I could have made.
And looking around in this realm, we do see lots of people with a similar story. It's almost like your soul cannot stay where you are. It is telling you. And I know for me, like it would have made me sick had I stayed and continued to play the facade. Tell us a little bit about what motivated you to just go.
Well, I had the following urge the next few minutes after I hung up the phone with my boss was, I'm going to go to massage school. I didn't really know what that was going to be about, but I feel like massage saved my life after I broke my legs and feet, and it got me walking again. I went to massage school. I became a massage therapist and working full time. with people on the table, quiet, dark rooms, I realized that I was talking to spirits. And
Wow.
it didn't seem like that could happen to me. I thought, oh, I believe in that, but that's not something that would happen to me. Finally, I got my nerve up enough to tell a regular client what I was feeling every time she came. And she said, "Oh my God, you just described my grandmother." And I was like, I'm not sure how that happened,
Yeah.
but it kept happening. And anyone who would listen, I would just give them a reading while they were getting a massage. But it took me a while to believe in myself. And
Yeah.
my husband kept a journal of all these stories I told him. And one day I read that journal and I went, oh my gosh, I'm a medium. I need to look more into this more. I really need to take this seriously. So, in a nutshell, that's how it happened.
Do you focus more on psychic or mediumship these days?
Both. I do whatever a person wants. So sometimes people don't care where the information comes from, and I can just give them information and psychic information. And some people really want to connect with a specific departed loved one or a spirit guide or an animal. And so I will connect with those beings. I think probably 50-50. Some of my more regular clients don't really care anymore where the information comes from. And then the newer people sometimes really need to hear from a departed loved one and they need some validation about who that is. So we can tell it's not my mind and it's really them. I
Tell
would
us
say
about the Council of Nine.
Yeah.
the Council of Nine surprised me. The first time it ever happened was during a channeled session with someone. And I didn't know who they were. She said, "Who are they?" I said, "I don't really know." And then they kept coming through. And so what they tell me is they're a group of higher consciousness beings, you could say, that are here right now connecting with a lot of us to urge us along our life path and to find our purpose in remembering that we are spirits having a human experience and what we're here to do. And so they're just a powerful group of, you could call them, for lack of a better word, ascended beings, a group of consciousness that is reaching out to humanity right now, trying to help us and empower us to remember who we are.
Would these beings be more galactic or are they more like an angelic type frequency? Can you tell us a little more about this?
Or do you know what dimension have they identified in any of these ways?
They don't talk about dimension, and I've asked them that before, and they say that's not something they can be defined by. They say it's like a universal consciousness that comes out of the larger consciousness system, or what you call source. And they say they're like a direct link in some ways between where we are here in this realm and then where you could say where source energy is. And the way they show it to me is almost like a projection out of the source creator. I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but they show it like linked from source to us, like there's a web that they're creating through their energy and trying to help us remember.
Is that related to our holographic field?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I believe that we are projecting our consciousness into some sort of a virtual reality
Yeah, for sure.
and a holographic fractal reality. Absolutely. Yeah. They're part of that. And I think the way I feel about them is they're trying to make a link so that we remember.
Is that the main group that you work with these days? No, it's not.
What would you say is your main group or the main way that you do work with who might be coming through?
Divine Mother Collective is the main group, and I've been connected with that consciousness since I was a little girl. I'm not religious, but I grew up in a very religious family and went to school in a religious school taught by nuns. And so talking to angels was always just really normal. And we were Catholic, so connection with the Divine Mother and Mother Mary. It was always a connection, and I talked about it as a child, and I felt like they were always watching me and talking to me, but that just seemed like normal. It didn't seem psychic. It just seemed like, oh, that's what religious people do.
Yeah, I could gather that. Mm-hmm. What are those the same energies and beings that would communicate through you for someone that comes to you? And what kind of healing do people come to you for?
Yeah, so sometimes Divine Mother comes through for people and sometimes not. I just invite beings of the highest good. So that's how Council of Nine started coming through, was I just invited that. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure who that is. I have to see what happens with that. Divine Mother comes through for a lot of people, especially the people who are really working on empowering their divine feminine side and people who are healing trauma from past, I'm not sure what to call it, victimhood, basically, where
Yeah.
something bad might have happened to you as a female, and maybe you're afraid to express in that way. So they come through a lot for people. A variety of different beings come, and I don't really try to control who comes through because I feel like really at this point I'm only connecting with beings of the highest good. That's always my intention. It's how I live my
Yes.
life. So I let anyone come through that wants to talk, and if it feels weird, I'll ask the person, do you want to hear from this group or not?
Mhm.
Well, I think we should just jump into it. I'm
Yeah.
fascinated. Do you have
I
any
have a
questions?
question.
Oh, I knew you did. I felt it. Go ahead.
So not last night, but the night before, I woke up with this in my head and it was Merba, or, and then I later kind of evolved in that it meant Merkaba, which we then Googled and I talked to Leonka and Leonka shared some of her psychic insights. Well, last night I tried to connect and get more information, like what insights do you have for me? What does this mean? And I feel like I've just been kind of flatlined. I don't know, not yet, but I feel like I am looking for the next inkling to I mean, really, we follow the energy, we follow it in our
Yeah.
conversation,
Yeah.
we follow it in our lives. And this, I follow the energy in this way too, in the psychic way.
Yeah, what I shared with Jenith is that I remember exactly where I was sitting when I downloaded the image of the Merkaba and how they spin. And I was not even anywhere near this kind of work. I just remember talking with one of my friends and they were like, that's a Merkaba. And I go, what? And then I got some other words around it and I shared that with Jenith and she's sitting there. She's like, Leonka. Yeah.
And I did you just Google that and read this?
And I was like, no, it's just what I've, would come
Right.
through.
So some of the things that came through from Leonka was 369, Nikola Tesla.
And some
And
of the
traveling.
vertices, yeah, and traveling, and it's a way. I said, I believe it's also a way that beings would use for as to travel and to traverse, where they are in space and time sometimes.
I agree 100% with that last statement. It's your spacesuit, it's your energy body, it's the way that you travel through what we call dimensions. Yeah, and it's funny that you heard Merba, and I heard somebody say one time, our intellectual channels are so strong, so much louder than our intuitive channels, that sometimes spirit might give us 6 words and we only hear 2 of them, and sometimes we might get like 1 word but we only hear parts of it, but it's real that comes through, and it totally makes sense that was Merkaba. And I felt like when you were talking that it was like spirit showing you your own sacred geometry and how you actually traverse timelines and realities through your energy body, and that also because it's our spaceship, so to speak, we have control over that movement and where we go and what we bring around us. So I think that was a message for you, your remembrance of who you are, how you got here, and how much control you have.
Nice.
I'm doing a timeline jumping thing right now, and we're halfway through it. And so I felt like it had something to do with that.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
it aligns right with it.
Yeah. Is there any other specifics to that?
I think you're going to bring it into your work.
I think we're sacred geometry in motion. And so the 369 that comes up and the Nikola Tesla that comes up, it's a reflection of that when I look, even with my eyes open, I see an overlay of gold honeycomb patterns, and it's the flower of life, really, and it's our reality. We're connected with that reality, and we're like a fractal of that. I think you're being shown that in some way, and hearing part of the word Merkaba was your door opening to going down that rabbit hole of who you are.
Fabulous. Thank you.
It is fabulous.
Yeah, keep going with it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool that you're involved in the timeline jumping, and so then suddenly that starts coming up, showing you, okay, this is how it goes for you. This is how you do it. And I think the more that you tune into it, the more you're going to understand. And also, like for me, when spirit shows me something, if I go and I look it up and I try to find out more about it, then spirit can even give me more information about it.
That's what I said.
What is your experience with timeline jumping?
Well, I feel like sometimes I just haven't been here for a little while, and I lose touch with kind of what's going on. And then I come back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just came back and I had all these like memories of where it felt like I was. So I feel like it's happening all the time. I've heard people say, like scientists say, that our reality is blinking in and out all the time, and that we can be, because time is the way we view time, like linear, one thing after another, is really just the way we see it in this reality. You could think of it more as simultaneously. So to me, it makes sense that we could be existing, our energy or consciousness could potentially be existing on multiple different timelines at once. And because our consciousness is always connected to all those parts of us and to our soul, I think that we can sometimes flash in or tap in to some of those other timeline potentials or existences that we have. And I think we can change timelines.
Oh,
And we can
yeah.
change the timeline that we're on just with our thoughts. That's how we
Yeah.
create the world. So I'd love for people to understand it better and just be more empowered about how you're creating your own timeline. And at any time with your own thoughts and your energy, you can change it. You can change it for what you want.
Very fun.
It is
I,
fun.
I have a question. So I have been getting a lot of information about channeling and channeling as being a clear stream. And it was basically you are being beckoned forward. If you want to raise your hand, there's always free will. And I was like, yes, I do. So this is how I got into this work. I fully surrender and I do work with the channeling. And it was basically saying that I have a clear communication and that I should definitely be working with that more.
Mhm.
And if I so choose, right? Do you have any insight for that?
Yeah, well, I can just go back to the time that we met on Zoom, and I thought, oh, I wonder how in touch she is with her abilities, because it felt like you had really strong abilities. But we just talked for a few moments, and I remember hanging up and feeling connected to you in that way. All
Well,
right.
what's the question then?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like somebody was telling me to do that.
So I think it's the same thing. Like when I had that urge to quit my nursing job and go to massage school, like I didn't know what I was doing or why I was doing it, but they were pushing me to do something. And it's the same thing for you. Like you're being given information or being shown a way that you can expand yourself as I think you're what they call a way shower here, where obviously you have a talk show. You're here to spread information that is going to wake other people up or show people
Yeah.
things that they wouldn't otherwise understand.
Yeah.
And this moment, I feel like channeling for you is going to open that up even more. Like I feel like you're going to channel for yourself, not just for other people, but for yourself
Sure.
in a way to help you move forward. A lot of times people get afraid when they start getting messages of some grand mission that you're supposed to reach a lot of people. They'll get nervous. Oh, what if it's just my ego? What if
Yeah,
I can't do
I can
it?
relate to that a little bit.
But some people have to do it, right?
Yes, yes.
So it's going to be real for a lot of people when they feel that. And I think if you're feeling that urge, it is because it is real for you, because you're having some sort of remembrance of who you are and why you came here and the power that you have behind you to do that. So for you, I feel like channeling it's almost like the next step in your journey. And then I see it like a flower opening up.
But that is happening for her.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
I resisted for probably 10 years and I would get messages and I had light language activated long time ago. And I had no idea what that was until
Mhm.
recently, maybe 3 years ago. I had saw some other people doing light language and I go, I recognize that.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of remembrance and I did have a lot of channeling experiences, but this is a real stream that is really asking me to be okay with opening up in that way. So
It can be scary. Applaud you for embracing it and doing all of this.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the insight. That's really cool that you had that awareness about me when we first met. So anyone, if you have a question, be sure to raise your hand. We'd love to get your questions in here to see if there's some insights that we can bring forth for you as well.
You talked about light language started for you, and you're like, maybe it's just the line. And I was like, well, maybe it was just that you relaxed and let it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And then you talked about this stream coming, and light language. That's one of the biggest things it can do for people is it connects us with our soul more strongly. People tell me all the time that their psychic abilities got much stronger after they started speaking light language, which was
Wow.
already dormant in them. So I think it's really cool that you recognize that.
Let's talk a little bit about that. You have an ability to be able to help activate light language within others. Is that correct?
It
And
is.
yeah, okay. I remember being really drawn to that because I can see how if I had that more muted within me, how I would, and I felt it, like, because it also comes as a feeling to me. And so if it's something that you're really suppressing or kind of just not really connecting with, it can be strange. And so I remember when you said that you do help people really come to activate their light language. Can you talk a little bit about some of the results that people have gotten? I know you mentioned a couple things here, but why would somebody even want to do that?
Yeah, well, like you said, there's a remembrance that gets stirred up in them when they hear it a lot of times. And there's a knowing. Like when I first started speaking it, I just woke up one morning and started doing it. I didn't know what it was, but I could feel it. I could feel this is important, this is useful, this is going to change things in my world. And so your question, I think I lost sight of your question. Why would we use it? We can use it for lots of different reasons. And so the main reason I think that we have it is to, as a spiritual tool, which I do think we all have it, is to manifest differently. It can change our electromagnetic field. And so, like, wherever we're vibrating is what we're going to attract. And so we can change our field to manifest differently, or we can change our field to release stress or to raise our vibration. Like with spell work, you can use a specific light language transmission combined with an intention and speak it to manifest something. So I think it's an innate ability we had that, I mean, we've been mediums for our own soul our whole life. Our soul knows that we have the languages already programmed into us. And so it makes sense that our guides and our soul could give us a light language transmission that would move our energy in such a way or recalibrate our electromagnetic field for a better life. And so that's why I use it for the most part, is to help myself and to help other people heal. And what's interesting about it is I accidentally found out that everyone could do it. I didn't set out to do that. I just was at the end of a reading one day and Spirit said, tell them they can speak light language. And they said, I don't even know what that is. And I said, well, hey, you want to try it? And so we tried it. I followed the directions that I got from Spirit and they immediately started speaking it. And my mind was
Nice.
blown. I didn't know how that could happen. And then they told me to do it with another person and then another person. And people just kept starting to speak it. And I was like, what is happening? I feel like I'm involved in this amazing experiment into human consciousness right now. And then I found out it was real words from real languages that we put together in a way that vibrates us. So I think I might have answered the question, but I might have also
You
lost track.
did.
I feel like there's a follow-up question on the chat, and it says, is light language universal? Can you understand each other when speaking light?
Well, the light language won't be in anything that you can understand, but I can answer it in light language and then explain it in English.
That'd be cool.
Let's do that.
Please repeat the question, actually.
Is light language universal? Can you understand each other when speaking light?
We're Divine Mother Collective. Hasokarina sale no sumare kiachio, hasura kaya asa om. Ikana turanganji estuchai, yakula supai. Wahea na soye kumatai. You see each other as souls in a memory through language. Adinyashulam diskilana chulana saya. The languages Bisono Durangi Antur within your realm could be called universal. Halano Shintiano Kumbin Hasaneo Koroskia Tula. And when you hear another's light language, Ambutin Hanchiki Hoto, because of this factor of being connected into one network in this realm, it is recognizable to you on an innate level. Hitiki Chusumakan Tutaiki, Itira Sumbai Yadirosko. The languages that you are able to learn in this realm, Kichimino Sumbai, for you are already programmed in for ease of learning. We speak more now on feeling around language, and to say that Yutumaka, a universal recognition occurs within light language, and that also these languages are found by many to be what you would call contagious, in that one may hear a language that is not already part of their light language, and suddenly it becomes, and their language grows as it is all programmed into you now.
Beautiful. Thank you.
It's funny. I do this stuff called awesomeness. It's a fifth dimensional energy, and I was told that it's contagious.
Yeah, it probably is.
You said that. You catch this.
It's like I'm being reminded to let other people know that they can do this too.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
So funny.
Another really interesting thing that happens with regard to understanding it is I do a lot of these activations with people, and we end up having conversations with each other in light language for a long time sometimes. We always feel like, wow, we just had a conversation. You can hear like the inflection changing, the tone
Sure,
changing,
yes.
and we'll get images of things in our mind as we're talking, or we'll get feelings. And so I think that's what my mother was just saying about the universal part of it. We feel that message on that level.
Joe asked on the chat, can chants be considered like language?
Oftentimes, people will start chanting or singing when their light language comes through, and it can be an easier way for you to start your light languages through singing and chanting. So, absolutely. And sometimes you could consider light language toning even to be light language. It
Sure.
could be spoken words, it can be toning, it could even be specific hand movements, sort of like when you draw a Reiki symbol, you're moving energy. So, you can draw light language in the air or in a notebook or on a painting. It can come through in a variety of different ways.
That's beautiful.
I feel like my light language sounds like an old Indian or something. There's
Yeah.
a lot of uhs at the end, and it's kind of sharp.
It can be that way. I have one that I joke sounds Klingon. It's very heavy and harsh, and it's weird for sure.
So you have different versions.
So we've never had a conversation just about light language. This is very fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It is fun. What are some of the ways in which, if I wanted to expand upon my light language, or someone sitting here wanted to, what are some exercises or some practices that you would suggest to kind of open that door for us?
Listen to other people speak it and try
Oh,
to speak some of the words that you're hearing them say. Because what happens in the way that I do activations, it partly includes me working on people's energies, but really for most people, just hearing it and
gotcha.
saying it, what happens is it connects the brain and the tongue in a different way. You're saying words that have a specific vibration that can, like I said, change your vibration. And so really listen to other people as much as possible. I've known several people who started speaking it spontaneously after hearing it. And then I've known more people who just tried to imitate someone speaking light language. And that's how I do it is I have people repeat after me and then they just start speaking their own innate light language. So you can do that on your own if you put your mind to it. We all
Yeah.
have the ability for it.
Sort of like learning Italian on Duolingo. You just have to take a minute to
Listen and integrate, connect the tongue and the brain in a different way.
We have a question on the chat from Dana. Go ahead and let her ask, and we'll continue this conversation.
Hello. So my question is, I've been going through really deep, ancient ancestral energy. It's been ongoing for like 8 months, but really intense for the last 5 weeks. It's been off and on. The energy is coming out of my feet and it switches from foot to foot. My guides had said it does that to let the areas breathe, but I can still feel the hot spots and that it's moving out kind of like in a spiral and slowly, and it's really painful. Like there's days I'll be limping and then I'll be fine for 2 days and then I literally can't walk for a day. I haven't had any deep healing like this ever. Just yesterday in meditation, it's only the second time it happened, but it's funny that you guys are talking about light language because it's the second time I ever had a light language come out in a healing way. I had a crying release. But my question is, I also have been activated to light language, and mine has been sporadic. And before it's even fully online, it's actually changing. So my question revolves around that. How is it changing before it's fully online? And then if you can speak to anything about this intense healing, I would really appreciate it because I've never experienced anything like it. It's very, very deep and intense.
Yeah, so I'll speak to the light language part first about how you said that it's changing before it's completely online. That's actually pretty common that it's like a training that we get from either our soul or our guides will start to just give us several different ones. And I think it's based really on what we need at the moment. It's because it's a vibrational language, we get what we need from our guides. And so if I'm understanding you correctly, I think maybe you mean that you're not really steady with one sounding light language before suddenly you're doing something else.
Yeah, like so I was trying to before I work with other dialects, I'm trying to be comfortable with my original dialect. But I just noticed before I'm fully registering what that is, that it's changing. So I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah. So the way that I feel about this is that you actually have had many lifetimes with different dialects. And you could almost say that you have many that are more or less innate in you because of use. I'm not really sure if any soul's older than another, but you embody that old soul type of energy. And I think that you've used those languages probably. I also feel like you have a connection with vibrational healing of some sort. And it truly does feel like a training. What I wrote down while you were talking was that, well, obviously you're empathic. You're moving through some layers, like old layers of things, but it wasn't just old layers of you. It felt old layers like, you know how they say we can transmit family like epigenetic memories down like 14 generations in our DNA. I think we can transmit them backwards too because of the illusory nature of time in this reality. And what I felt like was you were almost like the work you were doing here was you were transmuting through old ancestral timelines, but also past lives. I feel like you're doing like a really big job here, really big work in this one lifetime. It gives me a feeling of signing up for a pretty intense journey here.
I
And
would
the
say
pain,
this is a big lifetime for me.
yeah, I feel that way as well. I feel like you're here to complete something. And I think you took on a lot in this lifetime. Also, the empath came up because they wanted me to make a point of saying that some of that physical pain you're feeling is from the world around you as well.
Yeah, they did tell me that, but this has
Yeah.
been like just so intense. It's really hard for my human brain to wrap around like how it is operating. I could definitely tell it's not medical in any kind of way. It's all energetics.
And so just think about the last several weeks here in this realm, how tumultuous it's been and how painful. There's a lot of pain happening right now in the collective. And so for me, the best way I found there's a couple of different ways. I go outside, connect my feet to the earth, and I just like send out like positive energy to anyone in pain. See myself as separate from that pain as best I can, and I stay connected to earth to keep those electrons moving freely through my body as I'm trying to connect in with other people having pain. I find that when I do it that way, while I'm also connected to the earth, that I don't have as strong of a reaction to it. I'm curious if you're able to go outside and put your bare feet on the ground, or if you're already doing that.
Yeah, I always, when I go out to nature, I go out there with an intention and just that, like, I'm leaving light prints behind after I let the energy out.
Is no matter how much I protect, no matter what I do, it seems that pain is somewhat of a theme in my life. And I think it's one of my lessons is that I used to have a propensity to try to make every pain go away and to make, try to make everything easy and comfortable. And then I realized, oh my gosh, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to finish something and to feel these things finally that I've always tried to escape from. And I feel like that you're here just to process all this stuff that maybe you had trouble processing before, but not just that, but that you're holding space for the pain of the people around you. So maybe if you're not already taking your shoes off when you're out there doing that, try just when you're sending that energy. And even if you can do it daily, connect your feet outside to the earth. Because for those of us who are really sensitive, part of those ascension symptoms is probably what you're feeling. And the solar energies that are coming through, they're very different vibration than what we've been used to. And because of the magnetic pole shift that's happening, we have decreased magnetic protection around the planet. The veil is thinner, lots more energies coming in. And so those of us who are empaths, we have to stay more connected to those electrons coming out of the earth than a lot of other people. And that's my best advice for you. The other thing that comes up, now this does feel physical. I don't want to counter what you say, but sometimes certain plants don't agree with people and cause pain in the body. And I just sort of got a hit on some sort of plant that you were eating that could be causing pain in your body. So you might want to look into that, like different plants that can cause pain and see if maybe you're consuming something like that.
Interesting. Okay, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I was happy to answer.
Okay, Renee, you're up.
So my question is somewhat general. I am having a lot of dizziness, heart palpitations, and anxiety, just high vibration anxiety. And I have a lot going on in my life, and I'm just both financially, career, housing. And I'm just wondering, is there a guide that is coming forth or a direction that's sort of taking precedence that you can help me with?
Yeah, let me just take a moment to tune into that, Renee. Thank you for the question. Well, you are also a pretty strong empath. And I feel like right away, the energies of the people around you are very strongly impacting you. It seems like maybe people in your own household, and it feels like a drain on your energy system. And the way that I just saw it was if I have a glass of water that's full and then I have a glass of water that's almost empty, and I connect those two glasses of water, the one that's full is going to start to lose water. It's going to drain to the one that's not full. And that's what I felt the situation was with you, is that you were connecting in with energies or people, not just people. There's also other energies around that are draining you, is what's coming up. There's an influence, it seems, in your life that's not, I don't mean to sound scary, but it's like a non-human influence, something that wants to feed off of other people's pain. And so there's a lot of different types of entities out there that we're not aware of, and they're always moving around. And some of them, they try to see if they can get people to have unpleasant thoughts or have unpleasant emotions, and help try to keep them focused, because we're all telepathic, and so we can hear other entities as our thoughts. And I feel like something is trying to keep you focused on something negative. And when that happens, the electromagnetic field of you becomes attractive to that. Are you living with other people? Are there other people there?
I live in an apartment complex.
Okay, that could be the case. I've seen this many times with apartment complexes, because you can't control what's in there or who the people who live there. Oftentimes, if a light worker is living in an apartment complex, they have to take extra steps to basically ward off things that are negative, because they try to throw light workers off their path. And I know you are one, and you're here to help other people, and that's why you're such a sensitive empath. But when they're able to get someone to really focus on negative thoughts, they won't leave. And so I think the best thing you could do, and I had to do this too, they would come to me all the time in the beginning of my channeling journey they would tell me horrible things or make me feel really depressed or feel really anxious, until I learned to tune my antenna so that they couldn't come in. And I can help you do that if you need help with that. But basically, your job is to, if you want to get rid of them, is to, in every situation, try to raise your perspective around it. And when it comes to manifesting, one thing that I learned a long time ago that you may already know is that wherever we're focused in our mind the most, that's what we're going to create. So remember to focus on abundance in whatever way you need it, as if you already have it, and start thanking the universe for it, the multiverse for it, source, your higher self, however you want to look at it.
This apartment was supposed to be temporary. People didn't follow through with things. So I miss my old house, and I keep driving. I keep being pulled towards it. And I'm wondering if that's the entity or if that's me. I'm not sure if that's me grounding,
Right
wishing.
away, yeah, right away, I felt like it was you wanting to bring back that comfort of what it was like to be there and longing for that again. I don't think that was the entity.
Okay.
You're stronger than you think you are, and you can push out your commands and your empowerment around this. And the key to manifesting the abundance that you're looking for is to get out of that vibration of these negative beings, because remember that there's always energy waves moving through our world, and some of them, like there's energies that are really high, what we call high vibration, and there's ones that are low. And again, wherever we're vibrating is what we're going to create, what we're going to attract into our field. And so if you're vibrating low because you're worried all the time, remember what Bruce Lipton says, worrying is praying for what you don't want. So try just Like I say, fake it. Spirit told me, fake it till you make it. Smile because it sends a different vibration to your nervous system, changes your electromagnetic frequency. And then the next high wave that comes along, even if you don't mean it, you can smile and say thank you. It will change your field. And over time, the next high waves that come along, you'll latch onto those and create a reality that's more to your liking. I very strongly feel, Renee, that you can handle this and that this might be one of your challenges in this life.
Okay. Can you tell me if I also think this land has some negative spirits? Can you tell me if I'm drawing upon the land that this apartment's living in or on?
It's hard to pinpoint exactly without the address, but I don't want you to say your address out loud. So let me just see if I can pick up on it. It feels more about the current people that are there. It doesn't feel like the land is cursed or anything like that.
Michelle, do you have a way that you remove entities?
I use a command that I wrote a long time ago that closes the portals that they open up to our energy. And what I found out was I used to close those portals for people, and then I learned what opens them. I learned that they're attracted to thoughts, that there are certain thoughts like fear or anger or chronic depression type symptoms or anxiety. We create an electromagnetic field. Some people call it loosh that they feed off of, and they'll leave that portal open and they can communicate telepathically through it and they can connect in with people's energies that way. And I learned a long time ago that we had control over this reality in a way that we don't usually see, and that through our intention we could close their portals. And so I experimented with it for a little while with a friend of mine whose son, he was 2, and he would see portals open up on the wall and these entities would come through. And so she would text me and I would do the spell or command, whatever you want to call it, prayer, all the same thing. I would do that and text her back and she would confirm that they were gone. And so I tried that with lots and lots of different people, especially kids, and found that everyone could use this spell or they could even adapt it to what felt more resonant with them. They don't have to use my exact words. But what I learned was I can't control what happens after I close that portal, that they could go home, have a fight with their family member, and then these things come right back. And so I was spinning my wheels over and over again for a little while. And then I learned, okay, I got to teach this to people. Removing the entities doesn't help long term. It may give somebody a break for a little bit, but what really needs to happen is they need to learn to command their space and to not allow that there. And that has to happen from a higher perspective. It can't happen from anger or fear of them being there. And so I teach a method of doing that to people, but we can all do it. We all have so much more control over this reality. This is our temporary home for our soul right now. And we're more powerful than we think we are.
Yeah. I was taught to talk to the entity and say, who are you? What's your purpose here? And
You
then
can
to
do
ask
that.
them to leave. And that seemed to be pretty, it's been kind of my thing for
Where
years.
You're commanding your space is what it sounds like.
Basically.
Yeah. Mm.
where can we find the incantation that you used or the words that you used in order to close the portals? Or how
I can tell them to you right now. You won't find them anywhere online because
Okay.
I'm very careful of how I use
agree.
it because people
Okay.
may misuse it sometimes.
Mhm.
So here's the basic command that I use. And sometimes so first let me explain about spell work. So it takes intention, it takes energy from somewhere, and it takes emotion. So my emotion is always going to be like love and gratitude for being able to help in this way, whether
Yeah.
it's helping me or helping someone else. I'm just happy to be of service in this way and to realize who I am and able to do this. So I build that empowerment within in myself, and that's a very important part of it. And then the next step is to send out my intention, which is to close any portals that allow negative entities to attach to me or to someone else or to an address. And then the correspondence, you need energy from somewhere, partly comes from your emotions. But I find that for most people, that's not enough. You need another correspondence. And usually I will call on what we call a higher power. So I'll call on either source energy or I'll call on a person's higher self. I'll call on Archangel Michael. Sometimes I've always felt a close relationship there. Sometimes Divine Mother Collective, just whatever comes to me in the moment that feels appropriate to the situation. So if you have a specific energy that you like to work with, that you feel comfortable with, you could try it that way. And so you combine those 3 main ingredients in this way. And I always smile when I'm doing it because I know that changes my field and
Yeah.
my frequency and it protects me. It's the biggest protection I can have while I'm doing this work so that somebody's not pissed off that I'm doing it and trying to attach to me. I make myself invisible by vibration, by
I love
just
that.
feeling love and gratitude. And so, in the name of the highest good, I call upon Archangel Michael and so's higher self. And I thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for closing all portals that allow negative entities to communicate and affect them, communicate with and affect them. And it is with so much gratitude that I'm of service in this way. And I thank you, thank you, thank you 3 times. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. And I often will dance afterwards because you have to send a spell out. And so
Yeah.
the words send it out, but just getting up and dancing is even bigger,
Yeah.
higher vibration and
Yeah.
sending the energy out. So that's how I do it.
I felt a shift even before you
I did
said the
too.
words. Yeah, it's pretty obvious you've got that down.
Well, thank you. I've been practicing for a while.
A couple more questions. Paula, you're up.
Hello, hi Michelle. Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
I kind of didn't even really have a question at first. I just felt called, like I needed to speak with you. I'm not really sure why. But then the other thing that was popping up is I'm usually a really highly energetic person. And as of late, I have just been sleeping so much, just like to the point where it's almost like some mornings I feel like I need a crane to pull my butt out of bed. Like I feel like my dream world, honestly, is like just keep pulling me back in. So I'm just curious if you have any insights around that.
Do you think maybe you're having out of body experiences and they're not dreams? Are your dreams feeling like you've been somewhere and came back?
They feel very active. Yes, like
That's what I think is happening. I think that these are more than dreams. I think that you're having out of bodies that you're not quite remembering. And it can make you tired to be having a lot of out of body experiences like that. Now, the other thing that comes up, and I'll come back to that. The other thing that comes up for some reason is B vitamins. Are you having bad dreams or bad experiences, negative ones?
Not terribly negative. Like there's some points where I can remember some things that feel maybe a little unsettling, but nothing like horrific. Like I've had some dreams that have some anger in them, which seem a little like I haven't had dreams where I'm angry
Mhm.
for a while. So there has been some anger come up, but it's nothing like horrific.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, the B vitamins came up, and the reason I asked you that question is that sometimes we can have really unpleasant dreams, and if we add thiamine or B1 to our diet, it can make that easier for us. But truly, I want to go back to out of body too, because I'm remembering something that Darius Wright said. He's an out of body experiencer and teacher, and he has way more control over his out of body states than I do. So I took his class, and I remember him saying, that if you're going out of body a lot, it may fry out your nervous system a little bit and you could end up really tired. Now, there's a third component that's coming up about it as I say that, where you're in a time right now where you need more sleep. It's like something's moving through you energetically and it feels positive, but it reminds me of ascension symptoms where those high vibration energies that are coming in, when they hit up against what we call physical, if it's such a different vibration than what we're used to here in this dense body that we're used to. When those high vibration energies come in, they can make us feel uncomfortable. And what I just got for you was just to be as natural as possible with your diet, to eat like whole foods only, to don't eat anything processed or sugars that they'll deplete you at this time. Is some I get a symbol for when someone is having a change in their life path. And it reminds me of when someone has an awakening and then they have to process through a bunch of stuff. And I feel like that's happening with you. And the cleaner you can keep this physical avatar with just whole foods and no processed things, I think that the more quickly you're going to move through whatever this is. And what it is does feel positive and it feels like it's part of your life path, but it feels like a letting go of what doesn't serve you anymore.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, especially the whole foods thing, because I've been feeling like this detox has just been coming up a lot lately. So yeah, that definitely just puts the pin in it for me. So thank
Oh,
you.
good. I'm glad that came up then.
Right. We have got a few questions on the chat. One from Adelaide, and I think that's how you pronounce your name. My soul strongly pushes me to move to New Zealand. Is my soul purpose tied to that country?
Thank you for the question. And I feel like the answer is it's almost like a yes and a no. It's not that you have to move there and that you wouldn't be completing your soul purpose correctly if you didn't move there. But what comes up around it is there's some sort of comfort there or some sort of support. It feels like there's something to support you
There's
in New
on this
Zealand.
chat.
So you don't have to move there, is the answer I get. But if you do move there, it feels like there's something that supports you or that helps you move forward with your soul purpose. It almost feels like helping you move forward with happiness and ease to move there. So it doesn't feel like you have to, but it feels like it would help you.
Fabulous, thank you. And for the YouTube chat.
Irene asks, how do I know if I'm speaking light language, or how does one know if they speak a light language?
This is a really big question. People think they're faking it all the time. And I've never met one person who was faking it ever. And it's been so many people I've lost track of how many that I've talked to. I can tell you this, if you come on right now and speak it, I can tell you if it's real. If you send me a message, you could just go to sacredawaken.com and send me a message. I will listen to it and I'll tell you. But I think if you're asking the question, it's because it's real. How do you know? It comes out in a way that surprises you. It comes out in a way that I'm seeing a lady that I just worked with a couple of days ago, and she didn't believe she could do it, and she started speaking it, and then all of a sudden she said, "Well, where'd that come from?" She just realized it, like she felt it. It feels natural for someone, and it has a cadence and a rhythm to it. The more you do it. That being said, sometimes people will start to speak it, and it'll just be like one word at a time, like tuna, inka, om, hala, tu. It can be like that at first. And it was for me sometimes too. And I didn't know if I was making it up or not until a man from India came to see me and told me I was speaking Hindi and Sanskrit. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's very common to doubt it. I'll tell you that. It probably is real for you, or you wouldn't be on this show. If you have a desire to speak it, I think it's because it's already coming out of you. But those are the ways that you can tell. It has a certain feeling, a certain resonance. It can sound very organized like a language.
It's funny that
Thank
they
you.
use the word light language now. I was thinking for years that the Christians used to speak in tongues. Yeah.
And I asked some questions around that because I had the same question. Is it tongues? And it is an energy, and they don't like the word tongues. So yeah, because it narrows it down. It almost can find, there you go. So y'all picked it up too.
Angelic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it narrows it down too much.
Yes, exactly. So almost the word naming it in light language, but we needed a way in which we could communicate what we were experiencing. So they were okay with that. Is the message I got around that too.
Or like codes.
Yeah, it is. It
It
really
is codes. It was shown that our DNA, 1 gram of DNA, could store over 215,000 terabytes of information. We are literally a storage device.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy.
Or we're projected into one at least.
Just for the sake of time, we've got a couple more questions, and I'd like to just keep them a little more tighter if we can. And that's for the audience's questions too. Thank you. Romani, you're up.
Thank you so much for picking on me. Well, I was just resonating because you're talking a lot about portals and dark energies opening the portals and stuff. And in my household, I know just a couple months ago, I did a whole big clearing of my space because of dark energies. You could feel it through my kids, through my energy. And I thought I did a good job, but recently I've been so stressed out. I've been angry. My kids have been angry and fighting a lot more. Have those portals opened back up?
I think so. And
Yeah.
what happens, this is the exact reason why I started teaching people how to do it instead of doing it for them, because you don't know, your kids go to school, maybe they have an argument with someone or they don't have a pleasant experience and something follows them home, or something unpleasant happens at home, or children have a lot of emotions, something goes off and they cry or they get upset, and these entities, they're always around, they're always looking for a place to feed off of, basically energetically. And so what I found with parents was that almost like a daily ritual of clearing your space, commanding your space. You have to do it without fear, because if you're doing it every day, like, oh my God, I have to do the spell because I've got stuff in my house, then that's the energy they love, right? But if you're like, oh, this house is clear, we are empowered, nothing can affect us, and you have that ritual around it on a daily basis, then it can keep that stuff away. It can take some time, though, it can be a process of getting rid of them. It's almost like when ants know how to get in your house and they can keep finding the scent trail. You have to obliterate that scent trail with lavender, and in this case, with emotion.
Emotions. Okay. And do you have to do that in every room, or you can just be in one room and do the whole house?
You don't even have to be at the house to do it. You can do it from anywhere, but it will probably make you feel more complete if you go from room to room. And if you end up speaking light language, then use light language as well to raise the vibration of the home. And your kids might even speak light language.
I don't personally, or at least not yet that I know of. I would love to. But okay, I'll definitely try that. And then I guess one other question real quick. I've been told my crown chakra is open and I do have psychic gifts. I just don't know how to tap into those. Can you see which those are, what I should start try and work on to raise my vibration too, to clear out the space?
Yeah, so we all have basic clair abilities like knowing and feeling, but what I just heard for you is one of your stronger abilities is clairaudience, the ability to hear information from spirit. But people think they don't have it because it comes as their own thoughts. So
Yeah.
start paying attention to those thoughts that seem random or weird, or like, oh, I wasn't thinking about that. How come all of a sudden that's in my head? I think you are open in the crown more or less, and that you are receiving messages, but I think you're not recognizing them as messages because they're so subtle, especially as adults.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
One
I really,
one exercise for clairaudience is
yeah.
to close your eyes and try to pick up on as many different sounds as you can hear. I hear the sound of wind blowing. I hear the sound of a car in the distance. I hear a bird tweeting, and spend some time like meditating while you're listening for sounds, and that builds your clairaudient abilities.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, Susan, you're up.
Come on.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Okay, glad to hear. I'm a nurse, so it's nice to talk to another nurse. Today is my mom's birthday. She has passed, so I know there's like two questions to this. I know she's trying to give me information about something, but I'm quite not getting it. And the second part to that is I've been having change out of my guides, and it's been more and more recently. And I don't understand why all of a sudden the turmoil is going on now.
What do you mean by turmoil?
It's like they're trying to tell me stuff and I'm not quite getting it. Then they'll take me to another place and try to almost heal me and bring me back. I'm aware of it, but not aware of it. They've been just changing out a lot lately, coming and going. And I've had this set guides for about 2 years. Now all of a sudden everybody keeps changing in and out.
Yeah. So I get a feeling around changing in your timeline as well. Like there's a change coming for you, and it feels like a preparation, like something is shifting and you're being prepared for something.
Oh my God. Ooh, I got the chills and I saw this big white light in front of me.
And so, sometimes we have guides that stay with us for a long time, depending on what we need, and then they move out, and then new guides come in, depending on, the next thing that we're going to do. And for you, I do think your mom is with you, and there's a message around slowing down. I don't know what that means for you, but it's a message about slowing down and moving into a phase of spiritual exploration where you learn more about, I heard, afterlife, and more about who you are as a soul. And then as I said that, I saw you like turning in on yourself and looking at yourself and spending time like going through. It feels almost like at the end of your life how you have a life review when you come out of the body. It felt like some sort of doing a life review and healing before you leave the body, and that this was some sort of preparation for that. Not that you're going to die soon.
I know. Okay. That that's I understand now why I had that feeling where I wanted to leave the planet. I got to get out of here. So what they're basically that kind of now I understand why I was feeling like that. You just kind of brought it into picture now.
One of my main goals, and the reason I took Darius Wright's class was that one of my main goals is to learn how to navigate outside of the body before my body's done. And you can do so much self-study, just listening to other people talk about their out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences. And I know I'm not supposed to elaborate, but you look for a dragon connection. You have a dragon with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is he purple?
No, I saw white.
Oh, okay. I knew like something was around me, but I've never seen him. Like I've seen other angels in the physical sense with my physical eyes.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is when you made the other statement, I have an eyesight physical challenge. I think now they're repairing it. And I haven't been paying attention to it because I guess they didn't want, in a way, just let it go and move on. But I just feel this is a year everything's going to manifest the right way.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you have new guides working with you to achieve that.
My husband says I burn them out.
I don't think that can happen. I don't think that happened.
Burnt out.
I have a comment on that. And first of all, Susan, you look great. Like you have this sense of energy about you that I pick up on. And the other thing is that with the message I was really getting is that we sometimes change out guides because we're in a different place in our ascension. So basically you've elevated and a new guide wants to come in and work with you. And that's exciting. So that was really the message I was getting too. So like, it's upgrades.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get upgraded. All right.
Yeah.
When you said the dragon was white, I was like, yep.
She saw it too.
I know. When she said dragon, I thought of Jennifer. I went, oh my goodness, we were just doing that the other day and I had a purple one.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That is unreal.
They are.
Yeah.
That's the awesomeness.
Yes, it really is.
It
Awesome.
really is.
By the way,
Thank you for everything. That just made my day. My mom gave me one of the best gifts of the world.
Yeah.
Your mother loves you.
Talking to you guys. That was her gift to me today.
Yes. So cool.
Thank you.
She can hear you when you talk to her. Don't forget.
Oh, I know. She'll probably throw me out of Penny on the floor, and there's a long story behind that. I tell her to bring me some nice jewelry from the other side. She hasn't done that yet.
Thank you.
Thank
Blessings
you.
to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, girls, for calling on me. Much appreciated. It's been a fantastic day. Thank you.
Happy birthday to your mom.
And with that, we'd like to show how you can work with people since you brought a special gift a special offer for our audience today. And so we want to be able to give you time to go through that. So Judith is going to pull it up on the share and can you talk a little bit about the sessions that you're offering for the audience?
Yeah, so the one up on the screen is an hour-long one-on-one psychic mediumship reading, and you can ask me anything. I can tune into different spirits, departed loved ones, spirit guides, past lives. I also use an angel tarot deck if you're interested in tarot. Basically, I do readings on anything people want to know. People ask me about job, they ask me about career, they ask me about past lives, they ask me about spirit guides, what to do next. And I just get images and information clairaudiently and through knowings and feelings about that. And basically, you can ask me anything you want about it.
And then
the second one, there it is. So the light code activation is what I talked about earlier. Is we do a session where we talk about a little bit about light language. I answer any questions you might have. If you're already speaking light language, I would love to hear it. But some people who book with me, they are already speaking it and they want to grow it. And some people are not speaking it, but they want to start speaking it. So I do an energy adjustment on you. I took energy medicine classes, and then I learned one day that I was able to adjust people's energies remotely. Getting your energies more aligned, I sedate over energies and strengthen the under energies and expand your aura. And then I receive a series of light language words or codes that will activate you. You repeat those words after me, and almost like 99% of people start speaking it right away. And then we build it in a conversation with each other. If you don't start speaking it right away, we go through a series of repeating, and then you try again and repeat and try again. And usually people will start speaking it within the first 30 minutes of the session. And then we spend the last part of the session building it with conversations in light language with each other. And by the end of the session, people leave feeling quite elevated. We both end up feeling quite elevated because it just raises our vibration so much. So it's not just an activation for speaking your language, it actually clears your energy and raises your vibration to do it as well. And once in a while, people are too afraid to start speaking it in front of me, and then we hang up or off the phone or Zoom, and then they get in touch with me later and they say, "Okay, it started. I was washing dishes, and there it was."
Yeah, I probably would relate to that.
That's rare. It usually happens during the session, but it can happen that way as well.
Wow,
Awesome.
the testimonials are very great as well. If you want to read more about it, the link is houthustle.co/Michelle. And you can also find it in the chat, and it will be in the YouTube caption as well.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much. We've gone a little bit over time, but it was such a magical call. I felt really compelled to just keep letting people ask their questions and having you divinely answer their questions as well. So thank you. Thank you.
It was wonderful. Thank you. And thank you all for the questions. I'm honored to be here.
We're honored to have you. You'll have to come back soon. So I'll make sure to stay in contact and reach out to you. We've got some stuff coming up at the end of the year too. Hang out, everybody, for just a couple of announcements. Michelle, we'll go ahead and let you get to your day.
Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
All right, you guys, just a couple announcements before we get going here. The first one that I want to mention is we have a live event coming up this November 7th, 8th, and 9th. Tickets are on sale now. They are $147, and they will be all the way through July. You can find that at www.houthustle.com/earlybird. www.
Also, as you know, we've been talking about how we've been on a reality show. It was a competition that we taped in July of last year, and that is now live and out. Episode 2 is airing. It's called The Blocks. It's the largest live-in competition show for business and entrepreneurs. It was so fascinating. Jeneth and I had a really wonderful time competing against all of these other people. It wasn't catty, it was full of love, but we had to get up there and really push ourselves outside of our comfort zones. So you'll see that show, and we'll go ahead and put that out as well so you can see how we're doing. And we also were kind of taking a look at some of the future episodes too, kind of seeing, I mean, there's 100 people and 90,000 people apply, right? So out of that 100, we're looking to see like how much airtime we got. And so we're really excited about like showing up a lot in episode 3, but you do have to go through episode 1 and 2 to understand where we are in episode 3. So it's going to be really fun. I'm really proud of
a lot in episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So come, definitely take a look at the newsletter. If you're not on our newsletter already, be sure to get signed up. It's where we always put the different free gifts that these speakers have, all of the information, the lineup. We're going to have a summit at the end of the year, or actually it's in August, and a live event at the end of the year leading up to that. And you get all of that information in our newsletter, and you can do that at www.houthustle.com. And you also get Jeneth's free gift. She's got some hypnosis in there, so please just sign up and get all the fun and goodies. The other thing I wanted to remind people is that a portion of proceeds always go back to benefit rising.up.org. It's an organization that's started by students that take in laptops and computers and devices, refurbish them, and then give them back to other students that are in need for use in wellness and education. So we just want to have different ways in which we're benefiting the community, making sure we're supporting our community. And speaking of community, we talked a little bit about Mystique.
Next Tuesday,
yes,
we'll have a whole conversation about Mystique and some of the things that happen behind the scenes. and how you can join us.
Yep. And one of the things that happened is that you had that whole conversation about the Merkaba, right? So Jennifer and I were talking about what are the benefits of really being with Mystique, and we'll expand on this on next Tuesday. But one of the things she was saying was she was like, I woke up and I don't want to put words in here. She was like, I woke up and I tried to tell my husband about it, but he just was like, he's like, I don't know what a murra is.
Like,
a murba, I don't know what that is. Yeah. And she's like, no, that didn't really feel it. And she was like, golly. And she felt like she really wanted to share this. And so when she was telling me about it, I was like, oh, the Merkaba. And I was like, yes, I got one of those downloads as well. And so then we started being all chitty chatty.
And that's what happens. It even happens behind the
Yes,
scenes.
yes.
Two of them have buddied up and they will have weekly conversations together.
Well, I don't think they understood what I was trying to say, is that the reason why it's so important to have these, conversations is sometimes you're going over to your husband or your family or, other people, and they're not really getting it. Right. So we have this show and we're laughing about it because we're like, this is the reason why the show is so important and why the Mystique is so important. It's so that you can share with other starseeds, and it really does help to bring your psychic abilities online. Right. So like our conversation really led to other things that we can do in the business. So it really just helps to support you to have a community that you can really rely on to share some of this information with. So that's what we're going to share in the Mystique.
And we have a Facebook group associated where people share pictures, things, and what are your thoughts on this? They also get to choose our topics that we talk about on the show. I have a thing in the Facebook. I'm like, what topic do you want next? So there are some benefits to being in it if you really want to be a part of the show and really a part of growing your life based more on these principles instead of the principles that you were taught as a child.
Yeah, well said. Any other announcements do you have, Jenith? Who we will be on Tuesday? That will be us.
Yep. And Thursday, please join us for a
This
regular
Thursday
YouTube live stream. It's a pre-recorded conversation. It was absolutely dynamic. In fact, he's like, I don't know that I've had any other group just kind of reveal me this way. And I was like, yeah, we should call this episode Naked with Adam.
Yes, that's right. Oh man, he really
went.
Yeah, yes, he did. I think you're going to find it fascinating.
And sex and AI. I mean, it really was awesome.
Yeah, I felt so honored to be able to share that information. He just kept opening up to us too. I was like, oh my gosh, this kid's so juicy. And he knew.
Share this on public.
So, I mean, definitely don't miss next Thursday.
And in that, you'll also get a link to how to connect, possibly through AI, via his protocol.
And that's what we got. It's all exciting. Make sure you get on our newsletter so that you can get the information. It's www.houthustle.com. And if you have any questions about Mystique or anything that we've talked about here today, you can always email us at team@houthustle.com.
And we'll see you next week.